afternoon, everyone. A Football Friday edition of What the Frig Friday edition of On Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones, coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM The Game studios. And we've got about an hour to play with, a little power hour on this Football Friday edition, powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon. Of course, get ready with tea. And playitagainsports.com. Always encourage you guys to get social with me first and foremost. You can check us out on Kicks, Rumble, X, the YouTube channel. As I pretty much have been saying, every day or for the past several weeks, you guys have been amazing with the engagement on the YouTube channel, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Thank you very much. Appreciate it greatly. Hope everyone had a good Sports Thursday and you're enjoying your 16th of January 2026. A lot of NFL to dive into. Had to move around a couple things because, like I said, a little power hour today. We've got about 9 hours coming up soon with overseas hoops. So if you guys get, bored and you can't sleep, I would encourage you to follow me on social media at RichQ or subscribe to Warriors Thailand, and you guys can check out live hoops right around 12:30-ish, all the way to about, 8:30 in the morning. So, oh, man, but we love it. We love it. We love it. So as always, get social with me, as I alluded to. Also, if you can, please download the AUDACY app and search Coastal Sports Digital Network as well. So it's a What the Frig Friday. What made you say what the frig in the world of sports on this Friday? Now, listen, we have a lot of the NFL to dive into. You got a little hot stove baseball. We'll mix in a little Phillies, Yankees, Mets signing Bo Bichette. Now you got to just figure out, hey, man, can he play third base? You lose out on Tucker. But the divisional round, the head coaching carousel in the NFL, divisional round of the NFL playoffs, that is, again, where we are at. And it should be a hell of a weekend, hell of a Saturday, hell of a Sunday with the slate of games and the movement of these lines. It really hasn't done, too much. Like, it's not, listen, at the end of the day, when you look at these games, you've got arguably the 8 best teams standing, the 8 best teams left in the playoffs. And this is kind of what I want, or what I would love from you guys today. As always, get in on the conversation, comment, hashtag on Q. But all these games right now, Bills, Denver, Saturday, 49ers, Seattle, Saturday night, Sunday, Texans and the Pats, Rams and the Bears. You got double dip, great matchups. Give me, if you can choose a game. You can choose multiple games. You can choose all the games. That's fine. The more the merrier. But give me your X factor. If you think there's going to be an upset this weekend, but give me your X factor in all these games respectively. And I look at all the head coaching first and foremost, and I think that's going to play a major hand in these games this weekend. I think there's pressure on the Buffalo Bills. I think there's pressure on Seattle. I think there's pressure on the Rams, because you're looking at these teams right now, the Bills, Seattle, and the Rams. And the expectation is you're going to win these games and move forward, get to your respective conference championships. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Bears. I think some people don't really appreciate the job that Kyle Shanahan has done with the 49ers and all those injuries. And then, look, the Denver Broncos in that defense. They're a young team, but this has got to be it for Josh Allen. Like, the window, I feel like we keep saying it ad nauseum, the window of opportunity is right there for Buffalo. So we'll get your thoughts on the divisional matchups. We dropped a new edition of Back Your Play. That's already up on the YouTube channel. That'll air tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday on TV 48, NY48 WWON in New York. Lloyd and I broke down all the games, the lines, the win totals, the player props, everything. So check that out. But I think it's going to be a fascinating weekend. I do. I think it's going to be a fascinating weekend because I think this is what, the NFL season, to me, it flies by. It really does. It flies by. I feel like we were talking about divisional matchups and, we were breaking down these teams in August or just going back over the draft. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. So we'll get your thoughts on all that. Then, there's a very interesting report coming out from Michael Silver from Yahoo. A very, very interesting report regarding Jalen Hurts and how the Philadelphia Eagles and their brass, they are very reluctant to criticize Jalen Hurts. And now it's kind of rubbing people the wrong way. It's rubbing teammates the wrong way. Apparently, there's this reluctance from Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, who he's very tight with, and Nick Sirianni to criticize Jalen Hurts. So we'll dive into that. And then, listen, you got some of these head coaches that are still trying to fit the bill. They are still trying to find where they're going to lay their hat with a couple of these vacancies still open in the NFL. And we're going to get into that. Little housekeeping, though, as far as the injury report, Warner is progressing, not going to play against Seattle. That's still a big loss for San Fran. And Darnold's going to play. He's expected to play. Apparently, he just tweaked the oblique Thursday. But he's going to be out there for the Seattle Seahawks. And I'll tell you my 3 players or scenarios that I think are worth watching this weekend. Like when we talk about pressure points, right? Pressure points. Josh Allen, to me, is under an enormous amount of pressure. Buffalo, as a franchise, they are under an enormous amount of pressure. And I think the X factor in that game is really going to be Josh Allen. Like can Josh Allen get some help? Or is he going to have to do it all on his own? So I got Josh Allen, as we talk about, the pressure point, right? Then you got Sam Darnold. And we know about Sam Darnold. We know about his career arc, the ups and downs. And right now, trying to become that franchise quarterback late in his career. Still got a lot of football left. But everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop when it comes to Sam Darnold, starting quarterback of Seattle. That's one of my pressure points, X factor. And then you go to that Rams and Bears game. I mean, the theme for me is pretty obvious. Caleb Williams, you got a young quarterback. Can he rise to the occasion? Can he make the plays? These are fascinating games. We're going to dive into them. We're going to get in the head coaching carousel as well. We got some vacancies out there. We want to get your comments. Keep it locked in. As I mentioned, we got about a power hour. We'll try to take you right up to about 5-ish on this Friday on the East Coast. 3:50. Keep it locked in, a Football Friday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. As always, get in on the conversation. X, Rumble, Kicks, the YouTube channel, SR 1029 FM, The Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to come back. We got a lot of comments coming in. Give me your thoughts on divisional matchups, your X factors, how you see these games playing out, and we'll get into some of these other teams right now in the NFL that need head coaches, the drama that is the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts, and we'll sprinkle in a little hot stove baseball. About 51 past the 3 o'clock hour. Just crank it up on a Friday edition of On Cue. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll get right to your comments. All right, fast approaching the 4 o'clock hour. We'll open up. Don't forget the hashtag On Cue. As always, Rich Quinones here. You can get social with me at Rich Q on Q, X, IG, TikTok, Rich Q on Mike. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. As I mentioned, can't thank you guys enough. Keep commenting, sharing, get involved in the conversation. We love the dialogue and the banter. No, by the way, what made you say, what the frig in the world of sports on this Friday? Let's open it up on a Friday edition. New headphone, who dis? AKA He 12 man, aka Heisman, aka Steel Nation, aka Duval, aka Vince chimes in first. We love it. Kind of beating out the man. Damn it. You got me right there. Man coming in. Yeah, yeah. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Ain't nothing gonna hold me down. Oh no. Yes. You have to keep moving, especially if you are my New York Football Giants. It's a hell of a hire. You know, I guys love it. You know, I love it. You know, I love it. All right. Vince says, biggest question is what team hires our coach next? Falcons, Ravens, or Dolphins or Browns? Seems like they're closing in on Onedeski, the OC for my Jags. Bold move if they do. I said be bold. Now, who are we talking about? What team? What team are we talking about? You got four of them out there. You also still have Kingsbury in the mix. You have Kubiak in the mix. You have Brian Flores in the mix. You've got, we don't know yet. We still don't know what's going to go on with um, with Green Bay. We don't. We have no idea. Now, I thought if I was, say, the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay, I would actually take a hard look at Freeman from Notre Dame. Now, Atlanta, obviously, they had to request with John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh decided we're going to go in a different direction. Of course, why not sign with the New York Football Giants? Now, here are some names that you throw out there: Stefanski, Kubiak, Weaver, Halfley, Salah, Dirty, Evero, Mike McDaniel, right? You got Antonio Pierce's name. So Atlanta, their interview request bears assistant GM Ian Cunningham. Then you have the Arizona Cardinals. I feel like we're not even talking about them, and they need a head coach. So Kubiak might be the guy. You might see Thomas Brown, who's the passing coordinator for the Patriots. Baltimore, again, Kubiak's name. Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. I'm trying to think of Vance Joseph. That's a name that I heard. Now, for the Browns fans out there, Scott and Mike and Chris and my guy D over there in Dayton, the Cleveland Browns. So listen, I mean, obviously they would love to have gotten a guy like Harbaugh or a guy like Todd Monken, both going on to the Giants. Mike McDaniel, to me, might be that dark horse play with the Cleveland Browns. Might be that dark horse play. I'm going to give you another outside the box kind of thinking. Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. He's high on the radar. So you got the Cleveland Browns. Now we're just talking about head coaching spots. I don't know how much of a landing spot. I for some reason I feel even though the Raiders are going to draft a quarterback, they're going to draft Mendoza. Is that really, do you want to get involved in that, in the reclamation project and the rebuild with the Oakland Raiders? Could that be a Matt Nagy? Can that be a Vance Joseph? Can that be Bears quarterbacks coach Davis Webb? Can that be Stefanski? McDaniels? We haven't even thrown out Mike McCarthy. Now, I think not the 49ers, I think the Miami Dolphins, if we're going, best fits for some of these jobs right now, I feel as though, we talk about identity, and it could be a Chris Shula. It could be a Jeff Halfley. Halfley's defensive coordinator for the Packers. He's got the connections with new GM John Eric Sullivan, prior coaching experience as well. Shula, defensive coordinator for the Rams. I'm trying to throw out a couple other names. Is that a appealing spot? So to Vince's point, the domino we see, the Ravens' job is an appealing job because obviously you got Derrick Henry, you got Lamar Jackson. They got to clean up that defense. They need to go. I think the Ravens have to go defensive route. I think they have to go to defensive route. I don't know yet the identity of the Browns. If we're going to sit there and say the Browns, you rely on that defense as well, go to defensive route. Go to defensive route. Miami is kind of a mixed bag. And Atlanta, you would think Atlanta would kind of move quickly now because they got Matt Ryan basically running the show over there. And is that another possible, landing spot? These teams, I saw a lot of old school talking heads have tweeted out about, casting a wide net. Let's give credit where credit is due with some of these franchises. They're not desperate, panicking. The Giants were not desperate and panicking. The Giants wanted John Harbaugh, period. He became available. That's why they threw 5 years. That's why they threw $100 million. They know in this regard what they have to do and what they're doing. Now, I'm going to give you a name that might be a very interesting play for the Atlanta Falcons. Bills offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. So now you go back and you look at Joe Brady and you look at his body of work. Now we can sit there and say, well, look at some of the stops that he had. I get it. I get it. LSU, right? I mean, you had all those weapons in Burrow, spoiled. He's been with Buffalo. He was there. He was the offensive coordinator with the Panthers. He was the quarterback's coach with Buffalo. Then the OC. Now he's the current OC under Josh Allen with Sean McDermott. That is a name that you might want to just kind of park for a little bit. And look, we saw what he was able to do with that LSU squad back in 2019. I mean, it's spoiled with the riches. But Joe Brady might be an interesting spot and an interesting hire. Now, do you put a Joe Brady? Would we look at Joe Brady? Obviously, he's an offensive mind. What's the best fit? Where would be the best landing spot? You got a young quarterback in Penix. You got a tight end. You got a ground game. That could be it. Is Brady, does he look at the Raiders as a appealing spot? Does he look at Arizona? The Raiders, you're going to draft a quarterback. Arizona is going to have that bridge quarterback. The Falcons, it appears that Penix should be that week one starter. And now you got all this stuff going on with Cousins and that contract, and now going to Booth and sitting in for Matt Ryan because he just left CBS. Brady's an interesting name. I still think, Minter's an interesting name. Halfley's an interesting name. I would, again, if I was, I'm trying to think out loud here with you guys. If I were the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would try to make a push for Marcus Freeman. Now, the Falcons also interviewed Antonio Pierce. I would make a push for Marcus Freeman. Tennessee, that's another opening, right? We didn't even talk about Tennessee. So Jonathan Gannon was just fired. Apparently, he's going to interview with Tennessee. So you might get the retreads, or to Vince's point, you might think outside the box a little bit and get some of these young guys, right? And remember, too, bold is great. Bold is great, but sometimes different franchises can take a shot on bold and young. Some franchises understand it hasn't worked in the past, and that's one of the reasons they might go the more aggressive, safe route. There's a difference, aggressive, bold, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. I think the Falcons straight first. Factor in Denver will be if Superman is actually Superman or the imposter I claim him to be. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. You can't put it all on Josh Allen. That's just not fair. Just stop. I mean, I get it. You're still kind of licking your wounds because he basically ripped your heart out. And then obviously you had an opportunity to hedge your bet and go with the Steelers because you're really a Steelers fan. And then the Texans decided to take care of that. So I think the luck runs out for Josh Allen. I just, how much more can he do? And let's not gloss over that Denver defense. That Denver defense, they attack, they fly around the football. You got all these exotic blitz schemes. I mean, it's pretty simple. You watch these games long enough, how do you beat teams? You get them in third and long. You force some turnovers. You flip the field. You play field position. The only path to victory I see for the Buffalo Bills is if they turn over Bo Nix and they figure out a way to punch it in instead of field goals. Like 17 points for Buffalo is not winning this game. It's just not. If there's a couple of Allen turnovers and it's 14-3, 17-3, Buffalo's in trouble because most likely they're going to ask Josh Allen, throw us back in the game. They're going to go away from the ground game because that's exactly what McDermott has done in the past. He does panic. He doesn't stick with the ground game, even if they're down 7, 10 points. We know about sometimes the clock management, sometimes the unwillingness and or overly aggressive, the willingness to go for it on fourth down, inopportune times. That scares me a little bit. And how much do you want to put all on Josh Allen? If they cannot run the football, they are in trouble. James Cook, James Cook has to. I don't care if he's picking up yardage or not. You cannot, Sunday, you can't be having a nice little coffee at the diner talking football with your buddies and you're like, hey, man, I can't believe James Cook had, 16 touches. No, he needs 25 plus. He needs 25 plus. You need that, 25 to 30. He had 32. That was his season high against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he ran for $144. You need about 25 to 30 touches for Cooks because you got to figure out a way, time of possession. You don't want to keep putting your defense out on the field. And I'm not saying the Denver Broncos can run you up and down the field. What I'm saying is, in a game like this, it's going to be a low-scoring defensive affair, a defensive struggle. But I still think the Buffalo Bills, every time you get in that red zone, and we know Denver clamps down, they got a very good red zone defensive efficiency, the Bills have to come away with touchdowns. They can't settle for 3 points. They can't. They can't. And you can't expect Josh Allen to go out there and run for 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, and throw for 280 and 3 touchdowns. You're asking way too much. You're asking way too much. We've seen him do it. We've always seen him do it, but I just think the luck runs out this weekend. Plus, again, full transparency, I've been on Denver since August. I'm not going to be on Denver anymore. And Denver might not need that, 265, 130 on the ground, 400 plus yards of offense as a collective unit, as a whole. Now, it's their first game at home, playoffs, maybe jitters. You're taking on a veteran team. How are you going to react? How are you going to react? Now, they come in relatively healthy. The Denver Broncos do. They come in relatively healthy, which is a good thing. You get right at the right time, so to speak. And I'll tell you something else. RJ Harvey could be a nice little X factor. You get him moving around in the backfield. You get him on those wheel routes. You set him up. You flank him out. You got some wide receivers. How much pressure, how much rope will Sean Payton give Bo Nix? How much? Is he going to say, it's your game to win or lose? Go out there and sling it. And Denver's defense can set it up where their offense doesn't have to shoulder the load. So you're going to see there's going to be a point or points in this game between Denver and Buffalo where you get a special teams, you get a nice, a touchdown, a touch right on the 5-yard line, 10-yard line. You pin the Buffalo Bills back. It's 3rd and 16. I mean, think about who Josh Allen is thrown to. Think about who he's throwing to. He's got Shakir, but then you got a veteran in Cooks. I mean, if one of these guys go down, you're in trouble. Coleman, it's like, oh my God, catch the friggin' ball once in a while. It's almost like last resort, like Featherstone. Hands of stone. All the other backup guys are banged up. Johnson banged up. Samuel's banged up. Palmer's banged up. Gabe Davis is on the IR. They're running out of weapons. So this might be a game where Josh Allen is going to have to do everything on his own, and I think that plays right into Denver's hands. I really do. I'm sticking with Denver. I'm riding with Denver. That's the team that I have winning it all. So I'm not going to flip and do a 180 on that. Factor in Denver. Oh, we already got that. I'm sorry. I think people are forgetting how good Denver's defense is. Their defense is exceptional. Their defense is really good. And they quietly, if you look at I would say the 3 or 4 best teams right now defensively, they all reside in the playoffs. Denver, the Patriots, Seattle, and the Texans. Now, does the mystique of Buffalo, does that kind of rattle Denver, right? I mean, look, Denver's at home. They're rested. You got home field advantage. I mean, you can talk about the data. You can talk about the elements. You can talk about the analytics. Um, they need, if the Denver Broncos shut down the Buffalo Bills have the best rushing attack in football. And the Denver Broncos had one of the best run defenses in football. So here we go, right? Something's got to give. Now, we saw a drop off after about week 9 or 10. They regressed a little bit. That happens. But still, you're talking about very good ground game against a very good run defense. And if the Denver Broncos start stopping that run, they put more strain on some of these wide receivers that have also had an inability at times to catch the ball and get open. Buffalo would be in trouble. And what Denver does best on defense, as Man mentioned, they get sacks, they turn the football over. Now, you're going to have a drop off. It's just the way it is in the NFL. Teams adjust, tight end chips, they double your best edge rusher. Sacks have become less common since week 11. 22 of their 68 sacks have come in the final 7 games. We know Josh Allen is very hard to sack. So again, when you get home, you got to take him down. So I expect a lot of pressure up front, and you might see 4 or 5. You might see them rush 4 or 5, then drop back to rest in coverage. That's a fascinating game. Excellent points on that game. Seattle and the 49ers, I kind of tend to think that the 49ers, you have to really give a substantial amount of respect and due to Kyle Shanahan. To have the type of season they've had with so many injuries, so many defensive star players placed on the IR, and now to be where they're at. And I will say this, there is a path to victory for the 49ers. There is a path. And we can sit there and talk about the elephant in the room, Sam Darnold. Now, let's just go by the premise that Darnold plays really well. How can the 49ers go on the road, second straight week, and pull off an upset? There is a path to victory. You got Seattle coming off the bye. Obviously, they've earned the number 1 seed. They're 1 away from reaching the conference title game for the first time since they had that great run during 2014. Now, they're not dominant by any stretch of the imagination. The 49ers, I mean, look, they're not. Every team is beatable, but they are on a 7-game winning streak. And again, you can argue they made it through the toughest division in the NFC. Now you flip the script and you go to San Francisco. It's a tale of 2 teams. The 49ers showed you a lot of guts and a lot of heart on the road, hostile environment, and they defeat the defending Super Bowl champs. They've got a boatload of injuries, and I think the loss of George Kittle is brutal. Now you need this backup kid, Tunga has done it again, to step up. But they can win this game. They can win this game. And Seattle, we know Seattle's going to key on CMC. This is the 3rd matchup between these teams, right? 49ers take care of them 17-13 in week 1. Different story. We know that. But if you recall in that game, they were able to kind of seal it defensively, right? I mean, they were able to seal the game defensively late. Now you got 17 weeks later, right? Seattle dominated that entire game, week 17, a couple weeks ago, 13-3. They shut them out offensively. And Kyle Shanahan said afterwards, man, we missed our golden opportunity. Like, if we were going to get to the Super Bowl, we needed that win. Home field advantage. Well, guess what? Now, cream rises to the top. We know the 49ers are banged up. We know that they have Kittle. He's gone. Warner, the issues, Winners, White, Matos. I mean, they've just ridiculous injuries. Seattle's coming in healthy. But here's your path. I think the 49ers are going to sell out defensively. I really do. I think they're going to sell out. And I think what you're going to see is, at times, you're going to see maybe that corner, maybe that DB. You're going to see maybe that safety blitz. You're going to see them try to throw Darnold off his game. And You've got a hell of a defensive coordinator right now in Robert Saleh. And now it's the third meeting between the two. That team that we saw a couple of weeks ago, the 49ers, they're not the same team because their mentality, it's switched now. They believe they can go on the road and beat this team because they went on the road and beat the Philadelphia Eagles where no one gave them a shot at home. Like 7.5, I think that's disrespectful. I really do. I understand you got a fully rested squad. They're on a 7-game win streak. They're at home. The 49ers are bleeding. They're leaking oil. They're wounded. But that is a dangerous team because they're a wounded animal. And if they can hang around, just like they did against the Philadelphia Eagles, they might be able to pop and get that turnover late. They might be able to. Now, I know a lot of guys have been tweeting at me saying, this has the makings of 31-13, 31-10, 31-20. I'm telling you, as much as I like Darnold, if you throw some different looks at him, okay, he will turn the football over. You know it, and I know it. I mean, it's just a fact. It is just there's death taxes and Darnold throwing a pick. And I like Sam Darnold. I'm just trying to give you a path to victory. So defensively, they need to figure out the 49ers, stunts, if they're going to confuse Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's got a lot of weapons at his disposal. They can run the football. They got to take the deep threats out first and foremost. Then I think as the game progresses, they'll make adjustments and they'll sell out against the run. There will be a moment in this game as well. And I think the key also, believe it or not, I think the key to track here is who scores first. If the 49ers go on the road and they have the opening possession and they go right down the field and punch it in, all of a sudden you've taken the crowd out of it. Now you put a little pressure on Seattle's defense and maybe you force that 3 and out, a back-to-back drives. Maybe you get 3 coming back and all of a sudden you're up 10-0. The game plan changes a little bit. The 49ers cannot allow Seattle to get the ball and go right down the field. They just can't. They just can't. Even Kiki agrees. They can't. They just can't do that. And if Seattle's running the football, then it could be a long night for the 49ers. 49ers have to sell out, and they also cannot beat, you can't get beat over the top. And I know everyone's looking at Darnold, and I know it's a very easy analysis what Sam Darnold shows up, but maybe Sam Darnold doesn't need to go 20 of 288 for 300 yards in this game. But if we see bad Sam Darnold like we saw last season to close out the regular season against the Lions, then Seattle's done. Seattle's done. He can't play poorly, but he doesn't have to play great, is what I'm saying. He just can't turn the football over. And I think Robert Saleh has a couple tricks up his sleeve. I think the 7.5 is very high and it's disrespectful. Hawks versus Niners, self-explanatory. Darnold, which guy shows up. Texans versus Pats is simple also. Who wins a turnover battle? Yeah, but I can say that for every game. Both good defenses and teams that don't beat themselves. Listen, I think that game is going to be probably your lowest scoring game. That Texans in that Pats game. We talk about Denver's defense, talk about Seattle's defense. How about Seattle? I'm sorry. How about Texans? Rumor has it bunker doors have opened and someone is seeing if the coast is clear. That's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. I mean, we don't want to talk hot stove baseball, right? Is that what we want to do? They're running it back with JT, 3 years, $45 million. How about the Mets? Mets lose out on Tucker, so what do? Uncle Stevie's out there with the smoke signal on X. Mets trying to make a splash. Hey, man, that's great. You turn around, you got Bo. So you miss out on Kyle Tucker, right? Because you got outbid by the Dodgers. So you go to Bo Bichette, 3 years, 126 with opt-outs after 2 years, which is Heyman is reporting, which is interesting, right? Because think about it. You had a very quiet offseason in Queens. You lose Pete Alonso to Baltimore. You lose Diaz to the Dodgers. You can't re-sign him. You failed to re-sign him, right? And then, by the way, Bichette basically said no to the Phillies. I mean, the Phillies basically had agreed to 7 years, $200 million. And then the Mets swoop in 3 at $126 after losing out on Tucker. Great move, New York. Great move. Great move. Look, Tucker would have fit the Mets better because he likely would have slid immediately into left field, a hole that still exists. And Bichette's a tougher match because, again, you're trying to replace him and play what? What position in the infield, Mets fan? Now, I'm not going to mock you. I'm not going to mock you at all. I'm not here to mock. 126, free agent pivot. Okay. If you believe you got your guy, I like Bo Bichette. You got a slugger in there. Hey, you can't, like I said, Bichette is a shortstop. And the last time I checked, Francisco Lindor isn't going anywhere. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? I mean, this guy's never played an inning at third base as a pro, so he's going to take over third. So, yeah, I mean, Bunker Boys really can't say much. I mean, think about it. Giants hired Harbaugh. The whole complexion of the NFC East has changed. The Giants will not be a doormat anymore. The Philadelphia Eagles have a little friction going on with Roseman, Lurie, Nick Sirianni. They have no balls when it comes to criticizing Jalen Hurts, who apparently is walking around the facility like he's friggin' God's gift and Superman, which is rubbing people the wrong way. The Phillies are trying to run it back with, a good catcher, not a great catcher. And the Phillies, we know their offense sucks come October. The Sixers are still the Sixers. You want to get into hockey? What the hell? The Bunker Boys really have, they should not, man, to be honest, the Bunker Boys should go back right in their friggin' hole and talk to me maybe in April, maybe in July, maybe in August. They got no reason to peek their head out. Look, Bratzi, what's up with the 3:37 start today, Q? Which makes you more giddy? The Eagles fans showing up at the barbecue or your Giants having the best coach in the NFCs by a mile? You know what makes me giddy? The fact that you guys chime in, that's what makes me giddy. That's what makes me giddy. That you guys chime in. I'm telling you right now, you guys chime in. You're with me. You're hanging with me. And I told you why we had to start a little early. We're firing off, pretty much 15 hours a week of airtime, plus the boxing pod, plus the hoops pod, plus the gambling pod. Plus, we got to do 16 hours today and tomorrow overseas overnights. What do you want from me? I'm trying to give you something. 3:37 start time. You know what's really making me giddy, though? The fact that the Philadelphia Eagles don't show up at home against the 49ers, a team they had no business losing to. A.J. Brown with his little punkish, immature behavior. That clown jackass of a head coach, Nick Sirianni, running up and down the sidelines trying to chew out a player for what? Because he's defending the quarterback. The quarterback that you have a lot of questions. Like, I might give you a little oven mitts hot take on the quarterback, by the way. And now you got these reports coming out from Michael Silva. I get it. Oh, by the way, he's out west, covers the 49ers. A little that Sirianni, Lurie, and Howie Roseman are very gun shy when it comes to criticizing the Golden Boy quarterback. You got dissension going on, Bunker Boys. And yeah, right now, Harbaugh is the best coach in the NFC East. Now, I need wins on Sunday. I need wins. I gloated. I was happy. I was giddy. It was happy Harbaugh day. Now we move on. Now we get to work. That's what we do. Bronco Ball can attest to this. Corporation could attest to this. Madman could attest to this. Scott could attest to this, right? My guy Chino, Joe D. Tom, Vince, they know it. You bring your lunch pail to work. Talk is talk. Talk is cheap. Now it's time to go to work. The Bunker Boys are still, they're probably going around telling people we're still the defending Super Bowl champs. You lasted one friggin' week more. By the way, what do you want? You want to place your order right now at the barbecue? What can we give you? Where would you like to be seated? The B-Boys, their time is coming to an end. That's it. Yes, I did mention Denver. It's absurd. Yep. Absurd. And yeah, because they had that bye week, just like Seattle. It's going to be a hell of a game. So I kind of gave you a breakdown of those two games. Houston, the Patriots game, that's another fascinating game, right? Because you're talking about the Patriots really didn't have to do too much. We saw the last time out. But the Texans defensively made the stops. They got the turnovers against a very old Aaron Rodgers. They bring in one of the best defenses in the NFL. My fear, my concern, if I was a Texans fan, has to be the quarterback. I mean, the decision making at times is just piss poor with this quarterback. It really is. It's not good. It's not good. He scares me. He worries me. Joe D chimes in. Q. It's not that they're reluctant to criticize him. Why can they criticize him? You mean why should they criticize him? You're talking about Jalen Hurts? Come on, man. Just stop with the nonsense already. Tom and Summers point. Q. I know you were going back and forth. You still think the Birds are going to trade AJ Brown? Howie Roseman made it clear they're not going to trade him. I don't know why you're so critical of AJ Brown. You guys are goofy. I had an Eagle fan the other day tweet at me why I was ripping AJ Brown because of his route running. Like, are you freaking serious? Do you understand why Howie Roseman said what he said? I know Man doesn't like when I say, hey, follow me, so I'm not going to say that. But maybe just kind of tag along. Can I say that? Like, let's go for a little ride, like in JUCO. When you're wide receiver, when you go into the huddle and the play is called, every player, your position skill players, have a friggin' job to do. So if you're AJ Brown, you're expected to run, a go zigzag slant cross two, and you're running something else, and I'm just making it up, and you're running something else. It affects the whole friggin' play. So this argument, stop being critical of AJ Brown because he takes a play off, it doesn't run. Dude, what are you doing? You're in the NFL. You're an all-pro. You're not going to run the right route. Do you not understand how it's like a misassignment? It's like the running back not picking up the blitz. It's like the tackle not pulling. It's like a back not understanding to hit the hole, or the back going to the left when the pitch is to the right. It's like, pay attention. These are play designs. Everything has to work. If you're just freely running routes, you ever hear the announcer say, well, two wide receivers in the same spot? That's never a good thing. Like, AJ Brown just got pissed off and just decided, I'm going to be lazy on the field and I'm not going to run the routes. I'm not going to block and I'm not going to catch the football. Now, does that give Jalen Hurts a pass? No, it doesn't. But when you have a report comes out that the GM, the head coach, and the owner, who's very close to the franchise quarterback, are afraid to criticize him, that's a problem. Forget about the owner or the GM. It's more or less the head coach. So when you look at AJ Brown dropping a pass or not running a route, or let's go to San Fran, dropping a pass, not the third down one that he should have caught late, dropping a pass down the sideline, and then Nick Sirianni makes a beeline to him, and A.J. Brown's looking at him, Sirianni's looking at him. People will look at that. There's two schools of thought right there. The head coach is showing up the wide receiver. The wide receiver is tuning out the head coach, or the head coach is basically sticking up for the quarterback by ripping the wide receiver's ass. Either way, it's a no-win situation. Sirianni shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have. You just walk over to him afterwards. You don't have to be so dramatic and theatrics because the camera is going to catch it, and then we're going to speculate. But now that Silver's coming out with these reports that there's friction with Jalen Hurts and the way he's carrying himself, and the fact that, again, they won't criticize him, all that is more drama. That's all that is. And here's another thing. How much say is Sirianni going to have in the hiring process with the coordinator? If they're not going to give him any power, what the hell is a guy doing being a head coach? Oh, why do you still have him as a head coach? So, you goofballs sitting there saying I'm being overly critical or I'm hating. Stop. Do you watch football? I'd say the same thing if it was wide receiver A, quarterback B, team C. I tell you if it was the friggin' Giants. Doesn't matter what the team is. Obviously, it's defending Super Bowl champs, and they got a lot of unrest going on right now. A lot. A lot of it. And it stems from the fact that they no-show against the 49ers. The offense stinks. They fired the coordinator. What the hell do you wait for after the playoffs to fire the coordinator? They're going to be kicking themselves because I had an opportunity to make a deep run. Unfortunately, nothing they did throughout the course of the season suggested that they were. This is the ultimate trap, emotional letdown game for the corporate 49ers. Come on, they're NFL pro players. Just stop. Stop. Come on. These guys, the 49ers understand that we're playing with house money. We're a banged up team. were injured, they're going to play the us against the world card. Every team does it. We're going on the road. It's going to be nasty environment. Our quarterback's being questioned. The head coach was under fire in August by some yakky talky head on the East Coast. CMC, he's overrated. We lose a tight end. We don't have any offensive weapons except Cuckoo, Kachu, Mrs. Robinson. The defense is banged up. Nobody's giving us a chance to win. And as the Swami would say, that's why they play the game. If it's against the Rams, maybe I'm leaning heavy on the Rams. But as much as I am a Darnold fan, we all know the reality is I would not be objective. I would be a homer if I just glossed over the Darnold and the elephant in the room. If you pressure him, Sam Darnold will make a mistake. If you rattle him, Darnold will make a mistake. It's just a question of, can the 49ers get to him? And if they do, at what point in the game does Darnold make that mistake? Maybe it's early and they recover and they rebound. Maybe it's the first series. It's a tip ball pick six and then he calms down. We've seen it. We saw it against Carolina a couple weeks ago. We've seen it with Darnold. You might get a bad quarter of Darnold, 3 great quarters of Darnold, 3.5 great quarters of Slinging Sammy Darnold, and then late in the game. And, people are going to go back to the Tampa Bay game, but let's be fair. That ball's tipped, it hits off the helmet, and it's picked off. Yeah, he gets pegged by it, and it just adds fuel to the narrative that Sam Darnold can't get it done. But the reality is, in a big spot, we have to see him do it. Like, that's enough for a 49er fan to say, you know what? I got a shot here. I got a shot if I can get to him. Look, and also, you don't know about that oblique injury. It just could be releasing the football and he just gets chopped right underneath and he gets the wind knocked out of him and he gets knocked out for a series or two. You don't know how it's going to play out. You don't. You really don't. I'm sure he'll have a pad, a guard with that, protecting that oblique, but that's a tricky injury. Look, he's a good quarterback. At times, he's shown he's a very good quarterback. But which guy is showing up? Which guy is showing up? Go back to that game against Tampa, which was a fun game to watch. He throws for 341 and 4 touchdowns, but then the last series of the game, doink, deflection, pick. And he's thrown a couple picks over the last couple weeks. And he's been sacked too. He's not the most mobile of quarterbacks. Now, he can take off and run when he has to. San Fran's got to be able to get to him. The problem is, can San Francisco muster up a sustained blitz, a sustained rush? Can they? They don't get to the quarterback. Everyone knows that. The 49ers, because they're so banged up, it is a fact. You can check the stats if you want. They never get turnovers and they don't accumulate sacks. They're like dead last in the NFL. They're like dead last. That's not ripping on them. That's just factual. They never get to the quarterback. They got 20 sacks. 20 sacks is unheard of. Like, that's ridiculous. They got 6 picks. Can they get to Darnold late in this game? Is it a 3rd and 13, under 6 to go, Seattle trailing by 6, and all of a sudden Salah says, we're sending the dogs, man. Get after him. And then you run it out with CMC. You take a knee and get the hell out of there with a win. They've got a puncher's chance in this game. So I don't want to hear this crap about emotional letdown, all this kind of... I don't want to hear this. I don't. It's the NFL. They know how close they are to get into an NFC championship. Emotional crap is for college, man. It's for Saturday's Pop Warner. I heard you've been texting the corporation about alternate start times. They got you in their pocket, Hugh. Never. I fire off when I want to. I'm my own friggin' man. The corporation knows that. And the corporation would never, ever sidestep that issue. The corporation would never, ever throw me to the wolves. They're not going to do that. They know better. Even though I'm an honorary member, they also understand, I'm a sweetheart, but they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. They know that. The corporation knows that. It's one of the reasons I'm an honorary member, because they know I'm a stand-up guy. Unfortunately, I can't say that about, the B-boys. And the start times, I already gave you the reason for that. We're trying to give you content. We're trying to do the show. We're trying to have a little fun. I got to get some shut eye as well. It can't be 24/7. As much as I would love to be on the air 24/7, I can't. Tom chimes in, Q. I'm laughing my ass off. You really give it to these Eagles fans. But I'll say this, the 49ers showed me a lot of heart. I'm actually taking them in a points. Ooh, that's a little sexy, dicey proposition by Tommy C. All right. Hey, we can go with that. We can go with that. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I am at. Hey, listen, you're allowed to do that. You are allowed to do that. That's fine with me. Um, see, we punch up Lloyd for a couple minutes before we get out of here. Michael chimes in, Bronco ball, let's ride. I'm feeling confident for Broncos ball. Good feelings, Q. 1 seed, let's go. I do like Denver. I believe the 49ers cover this game and keep it close. I've gone on the record saying that. I think Denver will get to Josh Allen. He's got to do too much. I'm sticking with Denver, and I'm not going to write off the 49ers. The first couple minutes of that game, they need to weather the storm. They have to. They have to. It's like a fight. You're a big dog. You go in there. You got to be able to bank a couple early rounds. Forget about the filling out process. You got to take some shots early. You might get knocked down. You got to get back up. Listen, the 49ers are a tough friggin' team. And maybe they do lose the game 31-13, but maybe it's a 13-10 game late in the third. Maybe it's 20-13 in the fourth, and then all of a sudden the house comes down. I give them a puncher's chance in this game. And I think the 7.5 is disrespectful. Now, the Texans game, the Texans and the Pats, I want to see how May can respond to that defense, but I'm very worried about CJ Stroud. His decision making at times, the way he's just very careless with the football, it worries me. It really, really worries me. And I didn't even really get to the Bears and the Rams game. And I think the Bears right now got some juju. They got some special juice going on right now. They do. They really do. They've suffered enough. The Bears fans and that franchise has suffered for years. You got a franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. You're down 18 points at home against the Packers with under 7 to go. You're down 11 with under 3 to go. And they won that game. They've got some moxie, the Bears do. And my X factor is Swift. That's my X factor in this game. Now, it's going to be nasty. It's going to be cold. The weather is going to be friggin' brutal. How is Stafford going to handle that, right? Who gets shipped first, Hurts, Jackson, or JJ McCarthy? You want my hot oven mitts take right now on January 16th at 4:35? I'll give it to you. I'll give you my oven mitts hot take right now. I believe the Eagles will quietly take calls that no one's going to know about for Jalen Hurts this offseason. Next season, I believe the Philadelphia Eagles will shop Jalen Hurts and they will try to move him. That is my oven mitts hot take. You can tape it, mark it, wrap it up, put it under the pillow at night, see if the little football fairy comes and leaves you a little dollar. But that is my oven mitts take. Jackson's not going anywhere. Jackson's not going anywhere. JJ McCarthy, I still think the verdict's out. I think Kevin O'Connell wants patience with JJ McCarthy. Okay. But I believe with all this undoing and nonsense going on with the Philadelphia Eagles, and now these reports coming out that they won't criticize him, they're reluctant to criticize him. That creates a divide in the locker room. I've seen it. I've seen it with multiple teams. And I believe what I said a couple months ago, if Burrow's really in Cincinnati, if you make the swap, Burrow, Hurts, draft picks, here we go. Everyone's enamored by the backup. McKee, young kid, can fling it, even though I don't know about that just yet. But I leave quietly. There will be a team this offseason that calls the Eagles. Mark it down for Jalen Hurts. And I also believe next year they shop him and they try to get him out of Philly because this is not going to last. And then you go through another offensive coordinator. It's just not going to last. It's just madness at this point. It really is. And they spit the bit. They spit the bit offensively the whole season in that playoff game. Oven mitts, 360 on bake, cook them up on a What the Frig Friday edition of On Cue. My guy, Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, SR 1029 FM The Game. Also, Sports Network, kind enough to join me for a couple of minutes. You're shaking your head. Listen, I'm telling you right now, bookmark it.
He's throwing stuff against the wall, folks. We'll see if it
No.
sticks.
Hey, you know me. If I say it, I believe it. Just like in Back Your Play. If we say it, we play it. If we back it,
We're going to stack it.
that's what I'm saying. So, I'm telling you right now. Explain to me all these reports coming out about the infighting and the lack of, we're not going to criticize. We're not going to rip him. We're not going to get on him. Why? Why is he Teflon? What is he? The Teflon Jalen Hurts? The Teflon
Yeah,
Don?
what I think the biggest thing, Q, is he's endeared himself to the owner,
Well,
Jeffrey
they're tight.
Lurie, and we've seen this situation before where an owner gets very close to a player, and they're more in their corner than people in the building or other players in the locker room, and
Yeah.
and it happened before in Philadelphia. I covered that situation with Don McNabb. Let me tell you something. At the end, he was not. You saw that locker room kind of fractured, and there were people when he left. When they traded him that Easter Sunday, they were like, "Okay, fine, time for him to leave." A lot of times, the stars have demands, and other players see this, and there's some animosity, and then you get into the whole money thing. He's making 51, $52 million a year, Jalen Hurts, and they're talking about nobody's criticizing him, based on his performance
Or
and
lack thereof.
yeah, and a lot of excuses. You see that a lot for players when they've kind of ingratiated themselves to management. So
Look,
we'll see how this turns out.
yeah, Mike Silver is out west. He covered the 49ers for years. I'm not going to refute the report. You and I have kind of always wondered why. Look, there the coaches rarely take shots at their players. I mean, it's just
Not in the public, typically. If they're going to, it's going to be. And you and I have seen this, on a side after practice, or they have them come in their office and they do it that way. But it has to be really fractured for them to call them out in the media and basically, that's unsalvageable at
I
that
saw it
point.
with Shanahan with Washington. I saw it with Coughlin with the Giants. I saw it firsthand with Foss on the Giants. I saw it with Andy Reid with the Philadelphia Eagles. 100%. There's ways to do it. Like Sirianni running up and down the sidelines and ripping into A.J. Brown. Then, the school of thought is, well, he's not getting on the quarterback who's making some piss poor decision and throws throughout the course of the season. But again, that's a conversation uh, for another day. But I text my buddies that. I told them, oven mitt hot take. Here we go. Book it.
Well, it's going to
Mark.
be interesting off season for the
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles. Q. It blew up quickly, as you said. They lose at home as a 6-point favorite, and the way they lost too. They lose to a very banged up Niners team, and they kind of did what they always do. They got a lead and they coasted. Next thing you know, the Niners are playing hard. They saw the deficiencies on the Eagles. The Eagles did not make adjustments as they had all season. They had problems making adjustments at halftime, and that's why that offense averaged 9 points in the second half. So there was a disconnect there. Uh, that press conference was interesting. Q. I rewatched it. And you saw Nick Sirianni still was not ready to totally throw Patullo under the bus. You know what I mean? And it seemed like ownership had told him, "Look, you're the head coach. That's all you're going to be." You know what I mean? We're bringing somebody in here to run the offense, and you got to placate this person. You got to work with them, but you're a figurehead. And
But then why is he the head coach? What why that's my whole
ding,
point. Like,
ding, ding.
you know what I'm saying? Like you
Sure.
don't trust me at all to run this at all? Like, come on.
And they reap what they sow. They knew that was who Nick Sirianni was when he came in there. He had been a wide receivers coach. He had never really run a team, and yes, it worked out where he got the locker room galvanized, and they made a Super Bowl and won another one. But it's they're deficient, and they have to look in terms of his mismanagement of this season, particularly his staff and how they worked with the players. And I don't think Batula was getting along with Jalen Hurts. And then You talk about that whole side of the soap opera and how that affected his relationship with Nick Sirianni, and it was just a mess, and a lot of it behind the scenes, and now it's starting to come out. But after that loss and the way they laid that egg at home, a lot of people are wondering what the hell happened.
Mark and Wildfire chimes in. Q, that's not even oven mitts. What the hell's in the coffee today? Hey, mock all you want. Fresh roasted coffee, straight black, brother. All right, let's get to these games. Tomorrow, Denver, Buffalo. We obviously broke down these games on Back Your Play, but for the listening audience that, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, has not downloaded those episodes just yet, um, you mentioned Josh Allen, how much pressure the onus is going to be put on Josh Allen. And I kind of, not even the pushback, my reply was, look, I went with Denver in August. I'm sticking with Denver. Uh, I think offensively, they're going to do just enough. I think their defense is going to win them this game, but it kind of goes back to Josh Allen, right? Shakur, Coleman can't catch anything. They got to run the football. I think Denver, they play the run first, and then they almost kind of bait Allen into beating them over the top. I just don't think they're going to be able to do that. And if the Bills fall behind in this game 14-3, 17-6, I sense more Josh Allen's going to have to do more on his own. McDermott gets a little tight in these spots. I'm sticking with Denver. I told you I like Denver. I like them on a money line. I like them outright. They are my Super Bowl champion, so I'm going to keep riding them until they lose. I have to. I'm going to
Yeah,
look like a friggin' genius.
yeah, and the Bills were mine. And I lost the other side of my Super Bowl
Yeah,
matchup,
so
the
did I.
Eagles
I
last
lost the
week.
other side
So
in week 2.
and so, but we'll see. The last time I was saying when we had BYP, it was something about
Yeah.
these teams met in 2024 in the playoffs, and the Bills beat them pretty bad, 31-7. Now it's different groups pretty much on both sides, and I agree with you that it's going to be on Josh Allen to put on that Superman cape, and obviously he's going to have to play with his hair on fire, kind of what he did last week. He didn't get too high, too low, and he really just stayed the course, even when they were down those 4 points late, and he drove the team down the field. So Coleman, they seem to kind of made up, and they're getting him involved. Shakur obviously is the guy. He had 12 catches last week, and they're going to have to see about Cooks. They're going to have to get him more involved because I don't think Gabe Davis is playing this one due to the concussion. So big thing was they activated Ed Oliver today from IR. He's going to play in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So defensively, Q, they were very beat up, and Sean McDermott's glad to have him back. Maybe they'll get a little bit more pass rush because last week they only had one sack of Trevor Lawrence, and they're going to have to put pressure on Bo Nix because he's a young quarterback. This is his second playoff game. They'll see if they can make him make some mistakes. Obviously, we want to see who can run the football most effectively. James Cook was so good throughout the season, but last week he only had 46 yards rushing. They're going to need more than that this week. And RJ Harvey, we really just have not seen a lot from him in terms of rushing the football. So I expect a back and forth game, but I just think the Bills have that destiny type of look. If you remember the Green Bay Packers when they
Wow, you're
won it,
going that far with that on
they,
the
well, they won
road.
all those games on a road. Remember that in 2010,
Yeah,
and,
but
and
look at the wins that Denver's had, like unreal wins this season, coming from behind.
they have too. It's like what's going to give. They won all these close games. It kind of reminds me last year with the Chiefs where they're winning all these games. You're like, they look bad, but they pulled it out at the end. And I'm just wondering after a week off, don't forget, you know, are they too rested? And the Bills are coming in there; they're hungry. So, but I want to see this coaching matchup. With Sean Payton on the other side, the Super Bowl winning head coach. He's going to be pretty aggressive, probably with the play action, trying to get into Ingram, try to get Sutton, because the Bills secondary is kind of beat up. Bishop's played pretty well for them. They're hoping to get back Hamlin, but it's going to be an intriguing matchup. But I think in the end, you're going to see Buffalo win this one by 3.
Wow. Well, listen, I got to go with Bronco Ball and Michael, big time Denver fan. I got to stick with them, and Allen does a lot. Uh, Part of me actually thinks there's going to be a series where he's getting banged up. He's hard to take down, he's hard to sack, but he's just had so many different ailments. I don't trust those wide receivers. The run game is good, but it's not like it was in the beginning of the season. Sean Payton, they want a game plan around that. Josh Allen, they'll have that spy, they'll have that linebacker kind of key in. I'm riding with Denver. So you and I see it differently, which is always a good thing. I like that. 49ers, banged up, injured on the road. I think that line is too high, 7.5. Darnold's going to play. Give me a path to victory for the 49ers without saying turnover Sam Darnold.
No, I think the path really is if you're going to, they have to have Trent Williams just dominate on his side of the line, and then get the ball to Christian McCaffrey on the swing passes, and get him going, and get that crowd out of the game. The 12th man is going to be ready to roll on this one. It's going to be on McCaffrey. Purdy, on the other side, he's got to protect the football. He had those two bad interceptions to Q Mitchell last week. And, he doesn't have George Kittle, his security blanket, but Tungus is a very good tight end in terms of a backup and good in the red zone. So maybe get the football to him. Jennings, maybe another trick play with him that could help out. And that defense, they're playing pretty well, even though they have so many guys beat up. Maybe it's, Mustafa or Lenore. They make a big play for them. Uh, but Darnold, he's got to protect the football. 20 turnovers this season, to lead the National Football League. And everybody's just waiting for that shoe to drop with him. So many weapons around him. And that's when they played last time in week 18, he leaned on JSN, who had, I think, 9 catches in that game. And the two-headed monster, Charbonnet and Walker in the backfield, did a nice job. Barner's coming along at the tight end position, and they're getting crossed back their big left tackle, who was all pro at one time. So a lot of pieces for Seattle. The defense, a lot of people are not talking about them, but I think that defense is going to have a pretty big game. I think McDonald's going to turn them loose, a lot of blitzes, and try to frazzle Purdy, who can make some mistakes. So I think the Seahawks win this one, but 7.5 is a pretty big number. I think maybe it's more by 6 points or so.
Who would you trust late in this game? It's 20 apiece, under 6 to go. Purdy's got the ball, 2 timeouts, got to go 70, right? Or 20 apiece, under 6 to go, 2 timeouts, you got to go 70, and Darnold's got the ball.
Well, Q, I got to go with the guy that's done it before. Purdy's been to a Super Bowl, so he knows how to win these types of games, and he's had more playoff success than Darnold. So I'd probably go with Purdy, but you have to wonder about his weapons around him. Now, I think
Mm-hmm.
Pearsall is going to play in this game. He's practiced in a limited fashion all week, so that could be a big uh, pickup for the Niners. He played pretty well in Week 1 when the Niners beat Seattle, so interested to see about that. But it's proven time for Darnold. He's got that oblique injury. He says he's going to give it a go, and you know, hopefully for your guy Sammy, he's ready to go, and he can prove everybody, including myself, wrong that he's going to protect the football and play like an elite quarterback.
Well, Pearsall's listed his question. Well, here's the thing. I think I've been fairly objective regarding this 49ers team and the Seattle team all season long and Darnold. But I know the Wolves are out. They're waiting for Darnold to go 18 of 36 for a buck 86 and 4 picks to come on the air Monday and say, see, this guy sucks. Now, I can win both ways. I can have the 49ers cover or win it outright and Darnold play well and they lose on the last second field goal. 7.5. I think the 49ers, there's something about the mindset of a team that can overcome those rash of injuries. And it might be too little too late. They could be walking into the Lions' den, but I'm giving them a puncher's chance. They need to score first. They need to get 7, not threes. And yes, they're going to have to figure out a way defensively to turn over Darnold. They can't get to the quarterback. They rarely get turnovers. I'm giving them a puncher's chance to keep the game close. And look, they lose a tough one. Darnold goes down the field and he puts it in the back of the end zone and they go to the NFC Championship. Then hopefully that narrative changes with Darnold. But I'm going with the 49ers and the points. And I'll take the 7.5. And I'm leaning towards the over in this game as well. The Texans and the Patriots, I feel as though it's not the sexiest game. And I know it's very commonplace to say turnovers, get them off the field, flip the field, yada, yada, yada. CJ Stroud scares me. Like, I watch him and I'm like, oh, he can be a franchise quarterback. Then I watch him the other night against Pittsburgh. I'm like, what are we doing? Back to back series, and he holds the football like a loaf of bread. Like, the decision making, not learning to throw it away, takes a bad sack. I don't know if that's just immaturity, youth, but I've seen him in the playoffs before. Like I thought he was past making those type of rookie mistakes at this point of his career. And part of me actually thinks they reel him in. Like I'm looking for the Texans to try to run it first and foremost. And then I get it. You're running right into that teeth of that defense. But here's the other thing. They might have to because I don't know if Nico Collins is going to play or not. I don't know if he's been ruled out.
He didn't. It just came down. He's not going to play. Q
That
ruled out
that's
with
a
a concussion.
huge loss with the concussion. That changes the whole dynamic of their offense right now. He's a big time weapon. It's one of the reasons that now that line's sitting New England, and you love this, no hook, New England with 3 at home. I I, I was going with the Texans and the defense, and now I'm starting to waver a little bit because I just don't trust the quarterback.
Yeah, see, I changed his mind. Everybody yesterday. I picked the Patriots yesterday, and I think, it's Drake May coming of age. I think this is his opportunity to really, shine this when they're getting Campbell back out. They obviously got to block Hunter. They got to block Anderson Jr. on the other side. The Texans defense is scary. They had over 60 sacks, just like the Broncos. I mean, they can get pressure from anywhere, and that causes the turnovers with Stingley Jr. and the rest of the guys in the back. So it's going to be a tough challenge for the Patriots. But you have a Texans team coming from indoors. They're coming to be playing outside, and I think the weather's going to be pretty bad. They played pretty well in the cold in Pittsburgh last week, but Stroud, as you said, that he's got to be more efficient with the football. I mean, he had 5 fumbles. He lost 2 of those. He had interception and not having Collins. Christian Kirk stepped up last week with 8 catches for 144 and a TD. But are you going to get that from him every week? He's been kind of disappeared all season. And the Patriots are going to have Christian Gonzalez. Their corner has come back from
Yeah.
concussion. He's going to be active in this game. So I expect him as a secondary to do a nice job. And then you're going to see Milton Williams attack a Houston Texans line that they retooled and they've done a pretty good job so far, but you can get some pressure on that group up front. So I think the two-headed monster of the Patriots is going to be huge in terms of Stevenson and Henderson running the football and then getting play action down the field to Henry and Diggs. So, yeah, I think that the Patriots win this one and cover that number.
All right, Vince chimes in. Last game too. I don't believe in the Bears at all. The way they win is not sustainable long term. Getting down 10, 17 points is not a winning strategy. Yeah, but there's something to be said about coming back down 18. Like Denver was able to do it. How many games have Denver come from behind this season, right? Denver's come from behind. Buffalo's come from behind. The Bears have come from behind. I love the Bears at home. I think the weather is going to play a major factor in this one. I think this is a old school Soldier Field back in the day. Pat, John, Bears, Packers, Bears, Washington, Bears, Eagles, Bears, Giants, smash mouth football. My X factor is going to be Swift, which I told you on Back Your Play. I think they're going to move him around a little bit, try to get that linebacker on him, create a little space, get him in the backfield, touches, wheel routes, slants, open it up. And I think the legs of Caleb Williams will also be the difference in this game. Does he know? Will that clock go on? I got to pull it down and take off 3rd and 6. I see an opening. I don't need to force it. I love their tight end. I love this Bears team. I really do. And we mocked them last year. We mocked them a couple years ago. I told you they weren't going to win another game of the season. They lost 9 straight. Last year, the debacle against Washington. Washington goes that way. The Bears go this way. Role reversal this season, right? When they played again, the Bears have a lot of juice, a lot of momentum. I know the Rams. I know their offense and Stafford and, Pupu Kadua, Nakua, Adams and the running backs. But, man, I'll tell you, I just the Bears to me, they've got a little juice. They got something special going on. And as much as we kind of, I think we weren't entirely sold on this quarterback in Caleb Williams, right? I think we looked at Caleb Williams and look, Stafford's probably going to get his, and you're going to move the football, and it happens. And look, Nakua will probably have a big day because the one thing you can do against the Bears is throw. I mean, their secondary, there's issues, and this might be a high scoring game for bad weather, but ball last, man, I'll tell you, This could be a shootout, but I'm going to go the op. I'm going to go. I'm not going chalk. I'm going to go a little juju, a little fairy dust. Bears late. Caleb Williams drives it in, and they kick a wild field goal. They atone for the double doink a couple years ago. They kick a field goal to win it at the end. I'm taking the Bears. Maybe it's a sentimental pick. I don't know, but why not?
Well, Q, you got to beware of that home dog, and then the Rams are coming there as a 3.5 point road favorite, and you got to watch that Stafford hand injury. Is he going to be completely healed? I'm hearing from guys that are at practice that he's looked pretty good and he's going to give it a go. But I think the team that runs the ball most effectively is going to win this game. And you have Manon Guy and Swift on the one side, and then Quorum and Williams were kind of quiet last week. So uh, turnovers are going to be big because we know the Bears led the National Football League in turnovers, and then you had Byard that led the league in interceptions. So Stafford's got to do a better job in terms of protecting the football because last week he got away from things with the Panthers that he can't. And conversely, the Bears can't get down like they did last week. It was 21-3 at the half.
Yeah.
I don't like McVay's going to find a way to salt away a game like that. So it's going to be a back and forth battle. Definitely the weather is going to be a factor here because the Rams love to throw the football and they love to throw it to Nakua. I just think Stafford and Nakua, this is their time. I think they're going to find a way. You're going to see Verse in the defense have Williams make some mistakes because let's not forget he's so young and he hasn't seen everything in terms of playoffs. So I think the Rams win a very close game. I'll go with them by a field goal.
So their secondary held Bryce Young to, I think, one scoring pass last week, and that was a high scoring game. They had to come from behind and win that game. Carolina had an opportunity to at least tie the game with a late field goal. They couldn't convert late on fourth down. This Bears team, their offense is red hot. Caleb Williams has thrown exactly 2 touchdowns in 6 consecutive games, right? Dozen touchdown passes among 20 scoring strikes that he's racked up in 11 games, right? Since the calendar flipped to November. He's just playing with a lot of confidence. That team takes the personality on of their head coach. I think the weather might be the best thing going for Chicago's defense in this game. I think it's going to be nasty, but I believe they're going to move the football. This could be your 30-27 type of game. Stafford's a wonderful quarterback, man, and I think Nakua is going to get his. I'm a little concerned. Chicago's got to be able to, again, slow down their wide receivers, and they have to be able to figure out a way. And it's very cliche to say this, but when you have a very good offense like the Rams do, your best defense is getting them off the field, right? Your best defense is basically, when I say that, yes, it's common sense, but what I mean is from football terminology is we need to get these guys in third and long. We need to put a little more pressure and strain on Matthew Stafford. So third and three, third and six, those are pretty easy. We know the Rams are going to be able to complete those plays. But look what Carolina's defense did. They held them 3 of 13 on third down efficiency. If the Bears can win that battle, and maybe you get that fluke turnover, you get to Stafford, you flip the field. I think the offense can do enough, and I think the offense is going to have a really good opportunity to win this game late. So I'm actually I'm riding with the Bears. Let me squeeze in a couple comments for you.
Sure.
Man says, Q, how about a bet? If the Niners win the Super Bowl, the Death Star microphone gets retired. That's not happening. No. If you would have made that bet in August, different. Stingley is good. Michael chimes in. Lloyd, you know what time it is tomorrow? Bronco Bar. Are you with us? Number one seat. Well, I mean, pretty much said no. You like the Bills.
Yeah, I think the Bills, it's just their destiny. No Mahomes in his playoffs. He's always been a kryptonite for this team. And I just think Josh Allen has that look. And he's from out that way. He played at Wyoming, so he should be used to any type of weather. Um, and I just feel like they're just a more battle tested team after beating the Jacksonville Jaguars, one of the best teams in the National Football League at the time. They had an 8 game winning streak and they snapped it.
All right, before I let you get out of here, what head coaching spot gets filled first? Atlanta, Miami, Arizona, Tennessee, the Raiders, uh, the Falcons. What's the next spot to be filled here?
Ooh, cute. you're probably going to see the Falcons, and you're going to see probably one of these guys coming there, probably a former head coach, and he's going to be able to come in there and pick his GM and basically be able to, um,
McDaniel, Stefanski,
yeah, buy the
Kingsbury.
groceries and then, cook the meal. So it's going to be a situation because Fontenot got fired there as well. So it's pretty wide open. These other spots, you still have established GMs and they're going to, sniff around and cast a wide net and they're going to make sure they're picking their type of guy. So yeah, it's pretty wide open with the Falcons. And then Arthur Blank, he's known to kind of give his coach autonomy and kind of leave them be and run that side of the house. So yeah, I would think the Falcons probably be first, and then the Raiders is interesting because you got Mark Davis who's a meddler, you got Tom Brady involved in this situation, you have Spy Tech who has alliances with Tom Brady from his Tampa days, so that one's probably going to take a little time, and it's not a job that's sexy because let's face it, the Raiders and the Browns, they seem to change coaches like every 2 years, and it's probably going to have to be a young upstart that takes that type of situation.
All right, we'll catch you Monday, 8 to 9. Low Advances Insider Football, and if you are in the New York market, TV 48 WWON, a new edition of Back Your Play has dropped. You can catch that Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 12. But check out Lloyd Monday, 8 to 9. He'll rip through all the divisional matchups, the recaps, the coaching carousel. I'm sure you and Kevin will dive into the drama that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Give Lloyd a follow as well at Lloyd Vance. You enjoy. Hey, say a prayer, man. I got 11:30 to 8:30. I got 11:30 at night to 8:30 in the morning. We're overseas. We're gonna have fresh roasted coffee. I just need. You might have to text me to wake up by like 4 o'clock tomorrow, because
All
I'm
right,
telling you, as soon as I'm off the air, I'm counting sheep. That's it.
all right,
But
enjoy, but don't miss the football now. You got
enjoy
to
it. What are
watch
you
these
talking
games,
about? I'm
man.
gonna be working. Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it, but I'm gonna be half asleep. I'm gonna be on the air for 8 straight hours, man. You guys are counting sheep while I'm calling games over in
Mm.
Thailand.
I get it, but you got priorities, man. This is football time.
Oh,
You
sorry.
know, I'm,
I didn't.
I'm a football guy. My sons always tease me. They want me to watch NBA and all that stuff. But look, I'm
I
watching
got you.
football all the time, man.
That's why we love you, brother. All right, man. Always appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, Q. Talk to
All
you
right.
later.
There you have it, my guy, Lloyd Vance. All right, got to start wrapping up. Good stuff from Fresh Roasted Coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon, and Play It Again Sports. Appreciate you guys on the YouTube channel. We wanted to fire off a little early. I know we're getting off a little early, but as I mentioned, we got if you guys get bored and you can't sleep, please join me. 12:30 a.m. Check out Warriors Thailand on YouTube channel. We've got 5 games this evening, bleeding into the morning, their time because of the 12-hour difference. Hopefully, we will have our eyes open for the games tomorrow. So just kind of go over them one more time. I'm riding with Denver, as I told you. I'm going to go with the 49ers covering the 7.5. Seattle wins. I'm going to go with the Texans. After everything I said, I'm going to stick with their defense. And I like the Bears at home. Appreciate all the comments as always. As I mentioned, don't forget, fire off on the YouTube channel. Check out the notifications at Rich Q on Q. Subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends. Um, I doubt we will be on the air tomorrow just because of just this, the overnights. But Monday we'll be back in the saddle 4 to 6. We'll recap everything. We might fire off a little early. Check out the YouTube channel, subscribe, and that's where you get your notifications. You guys have a wonderful Sports Friday. If you're out and about this weekend, be safe, be sound. Don't text and drive. Don't drink and drive. Just kind of locking in Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy the football. You got a little hot stove baseball as well with some of the moves of the Mets and the Phillies that we talked about. And we'll do it again on Monday's edition of On Cue. Also, download the free Odyssey app, search Coastal Sports Digital Network, and you can catch us and capture us Monday to Friday, 4 to 6. All right, you guys have a wonderful Sports Friday. Have a better weekend. We'll be back in the saddle on a Lunes Manolo Mentioso Man Up Local Radio edition of On Cue. Until then, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.